It all started with a biker patch. To most people, it was nothing more than cloth stitched onto leather. But to the men who wore it, it was their identity, their family, and their history. And to the U.S. government, it was dangerous enough to pursue with full force. For undercover agents lived double lives for years. Over 1,000 federal officers raided homes across 6 states. Yet they weren't after drugs or weapons. They were after a symbol, the Mongols patch, and everything it represented. Before we dive into the world of outlaw bikers and one of the most daring government operations in U.S. history, make sure to subscribe to Crime Cipher and ring the bell icon so you never miss a story that uncovers the hidden side of crime. Today, we're exploring how a patch, just fabric and thread, became a symbol worth risking lives over, a brotherhood that refused to be broken, and a government that tried for over a decade to take it away. This is a story of loyalty, identity, and a fight for survival. What made this battle unique was that it wasn't fought primarily on the streets, but in courtrooms, filing cabinets, and constitutional arguments. Law enforcement had spent decades chasing drugs, guns, and violence linked to outlaw motorcycle clubs, yet progress remained limited. The patch represented something different: psychological power. Prosecutors believed that if they could strip the Mongols of their symbol, the organization would fracture from within. No colors meant no unity. No identity meant no club. At least, that was the theory. The story began in earnest on October 21, 2008. At dawn, more than 1,000 heavily armed federal agents positioned themselves across California, Nevada, Oregon, Colorado, and Ohio. SWAT teams lined up outside garages and homes. Sharpshooters took to rooftops, and arrest warrants were ready. 61 members of the Mongols Motorcycle Club were taken into custody in what the ATF called Operation Black Rain. But this operation wasn't just about arrests. It was about control over the club's identity and reputation. Behind the scenes, this raid had been years in the making. Intelligence files stretched thousands of pages, mapping friendships, rivalries, financial ties, and internal politics within the club. Federal agencies weren't just studying crimes, they were studying culture. Who wore which patch? Who held influence? Who commanded loyalty? They believed that dismantling the Mongols required understanding the emotional gravity of the Brotherhood itself, not just its criminal allegations. To understand why the patch was so important, we need to go back to December 5, 1969, in Montebello, California. 15 men, many of them Vietnam veterans, formed the Mongols Motorcycle Club. They were returning soldiers who struggled to reintegrate into civilian life, seeking brotherhood and belonging. Many were Latino riders who had been rejected by the Hells Angels, so they created their own legacy. Inspired by Genghis Khan, their insignia, a cartoon warrior on a motorcycle holding a sword, became sacred, a banner of unity and defiance. For these men, the patch wasn't decoration. It was earned. Prospects endured years of loyalty tests, obedience, and sacrifice before being allowed to wear it. To lose the patch was worse than expulsion. It was social death. It meant being cut off from your family, your protection, and your purpose. That emotional weight is what law enforcement would later attempt to exploit. Within 5 years, Mongol chapters spread across Southern California, and by 1974, they officially declared themselves an outlaw motorcycle club. They recruited from prisons, built loyalty, and lived by their own code. But their rise invited conflict. A violent feud with the Hells Angels erupted in 1977, claiming the lives of 2 Mongols, including their president. Revenge followed, fueling decades of bloodshed. The club's motto, "Respect few, fear none," was earned in the fires of these battles. As the years passed, the Mongols became a fixture of America's biker underworld. Their presence alone could shut down bars, intimidate rivals, and redraw territorial lines. But that visibility also made them a permanent target. Every patch worn in public became a marker, every ride a provocation, every gathering an opportunity for surveillance. What once projected strength slowly turned into a liability. Even after a temporary truce, violence persisted. On April 27, 2002, the Mongols clashed with Hells Angels at Harrah's Casino in Laughlin, Nevada. A minor incident on the casino floor escalated into chaos. Knives, guns, and improvised weapons were used. 3 men died, dozens were injured, and the scene was left soaked in blood. The event highlighted that traditional law enforcement was failing to contain the escalating gang wars, prompting a new approach. That approach would be patience instead of force, infiltration instead of suppression. Rather than confront the Mongols head-on, federal agencies decided to live among them. They wanted to see the club from the inside, understand its rituals, trust structures, and vulnerabilities. The goal wasn't just arrests, it was control. Between 2005 and 2008, the ATF launched an unprecedented undercover operation. 4 agents infiltrated the Mongols, buying Harleys, attending meetings, and earning full patches. They weren't just observing from the outside, they became part of the Brotherhood, witnessing firsthand the inner workings of a criminal organization. To maintain cover, the agency also placed 4 female agents as girlfriends to the men, crafting complete lives for their undercover officers. For 3 years, these agents collected evidence on drug trafficking, weapons, and organized crime. The psychological toll was immense. Agents later admitted they blurred the line between role and reality, forming bonds with people they were ultimately preparing to betray. Every handshake, every ride, every oath carried weight. Discovery would mean death. Exposure would mean execution. Yet the operation continued, deeper and deeper, until the government believed it had enough. By October 2008, Operation Black Rain went live. Federal agents executed 160 search warrants and 110 arrest warrants across 6 states. Mongol President Ruben Doc Kavassos was arrested, the same man who had recently published his memoir, On a Few, Fear None. 77 members pleaded guilty to charges including racketeering and drug offenses, marking a major victory for the government. But one more battle was yet to be fought. The U.S. government had set its sights on the Mongols patch itself. In 2009, prosecutors filed to seize the club's trademark, the name Mongols and its iconic logo. Their argument was unprecedented. The symbol itself was allegedly a weapon of intimidation. Initially, the case failed because the individuals arrested didn't legally own the trademark. By 2013, prosecutors changed strategy, charging the Mongol nation as a. Families were disrupted, alliances tested, but the Mongols' defiance became a statement. No court can strip a brotherhood of its soul. In the end, a small patch stitched to leather carried a story of loyalty, rebellion, and survival that continues to this day. If stories like this fascinate you, where loyalty, law, and power collide, make sure to subscribe to Crime Cipher and ring the bell icon. We bring you the untold stories of crime, brotherhood, and justice. Every patch, every symbol, and every secret tells a deeper story. And here, you'll see it all. Stay tuned for more investigations that the headlines forget, but the underworld never does.